Sup you beautiful people. Hope you've had a fantastic day. Welcome to a brand new episode of What If Deku Travels Back in Time. Izuku really hadn't meant for it to turn it out like this. He hadn't. He doesn't even know how it turned out like this. But well, it had, and he didn't really have an option but to go with the flow and try for a second time. Or the alternate universe where Izuku accidentally travels back in time and creates chaos with every step he sets, but he still manages to keep it together. Kind of. If you guys enjoyed this what if, comment down below and let me know. And go ahead and check out other what ifs in the channel. After watching this video, don't forget to shower some appreciation onto the incredible author responsible for this fanfiction. The link is conveniently waiting for you in the description box down below. Before we get into it though, don't forget to subscribe and leave a like, and also share this video with your friends. So let's start this video. Sansa clenches his jaw as the medic pulls the pen out of his arm. Jesus, Sansa, this one isn't deep. What happened? Sansa was sitting on the rubble of one of the collapsed walls. The room is in pieces, cracks on the floor and a giant hole in the wall. The two cracks in the ground, or better described as raw grooves, divide the room. The parts of the wall and floor have blown everywhere, and it has the same story for the items on their desk, and the desk itself. Sansa doesn't even want to think of all the paperwork that is lost under those pieces of plaster and rocks. Machida is talking and gesturing to the chief and several others in the corner, and the origin of the mess is crying in the arms of a blonde man he vaguely recognizes as Naome's friend. I don't even know. God. The kid flicked his fucking fingertip, and suddenly parts of the room blew up. The kid? Midoriya-kun, right? I've seen him before a few times in the scene. He's family of one of the police officers? No. He just Sansa sighs again. He really doesn't want to explain this right now. He just wants Midoriya-kun to be alright, and to maybe find out how on earth the backlash of his finger flick was enough to create holes in their walls. He just has bad luck. The medic looks at him weirdly, skeptically. A year-eyed expression follows, but Sansa doesn't want to explain right now. Am I done? What? The arm, is it good? Oh yeah, just wait a sec. He tightens the bandage a little bit. You're good for now. But you're going to come by tomorrow. Or even this evening if possible. Okay, thank you. See you. Sansa gets up with a little grunt, and waves half-heartedly at the medic. He decides to go to the corner with Machida and Chief first. Did you find anything about the quirk of the assaulter that Midoriya fought? Is the first thing that leaves his mouth when he gets close enough to be heard. Machida makes an annoyed sound. Her quirk allowed her the ability to change the color of a fabric by touch. And before you ask, the kid's quirk was recording any sound and being able to imitate it perfectly. The mother can also parrot any sound she heard, but she has a time limit. It doesn't connect at all, unless Midoriya-kun came in touch with the cause of this thing. Machida flaps his hand earlier this day, or possibly week. We don't know which quirk caused this, and how long it will continue to hold on. Sansa swallows. So, we've basically no clue. Has anyone talked to Midoriya-kun yet? They all turn to the couple on the other side of the room. No, not yet. We don't want to disturb them and provoke another possible outburst. Because we don't know what it is, it's better to be careful for now. Sansa nods. Guess the only thing we can do right now is take care of this mess. Their hopes for an explanation are crushed later that evening when Midoriya-kun wakes up in Chief's office and asks them what happened. They try to coax out some answers, but Midoriya-kun tells them that everything he can remember from earlier that evening is hazy, vague, and also basically non-existent. He's confused mostly, and can't even remember a large part of his fight. He had even more question marks than them, honestly. After talking for a bit, they leave him alone, telling him to eat and drink some first. Then they have to decide what to do next. Midoriya-san had appeared an hour earlier, having been called by Toshinori-san. She had naturally been worried again, running inside frazzled to get to Midoriya-kun as fast as she could. Babbling guiltily about how she was so sorry she couldn't come earlier, and about stupid trips for her work. She is the reasons they decide to not tell Midoriya-kun what happened in the end. She had, quite out of character, firmly put her food down, telling them that Midoriya-kun already had too much on his plate for one so young, and she was thankful that they would try to support her son even with all his troubles, but Midoriya-kun already has an aversion to touch, very bad nightmares and high anxiety, and she would not allow for anyone to worsen that in any way. Sansa can't help respect this woman and her kid. She had been stressed a lot in her life, but she would still worry every time again when something happened to her kid, falling over herself to get as fast to the station as she could. Still trying to manage with work, and support Midoriya-kun in any way she could, even when Midoriya-kun was a mess and a half. Midoriya-kun, in turn, tried to support her too and avoid stressing her as much as he could. He would listen to her and try to keep out of trouble as much as he could. He would try to reassure her and carry his troubles all on his own even though he was 9. They obviously loved each other a lot. Their bond was a treasure, and Sansa could only wish he would maybe have such a bond with somebody too when he was older. So, it's decided that they will hide the incident from Midoriya-kun, which brings up some struggles with Sansa's bandaged arm, their ruined office, and of course Midoriya-kun's cooperation when his mom isn't there. While Midoriya-kun was very respectful, easily intimidated and sometimes shy, he was also curious. And this curiosity, as they had learned early on, could easily cancel out all earlier mentioned traits. Midoriya-kun's questioning eyes and mouth when they decide he has to go to a doctor who specializes in quirks are horror to deal with. Only solved when Machida lies to him that the guy Midoriya-kun fought earlier had a suspicious quirk, and they wanted to make sure nothing transferred. There are a few other tests and interrogations, and Midoriya-kun gets closely monitored for weeks by them. Nothing pops up though. All the tests come back negative, the interrogations give no result, and there's no sudden superpower that Midoriya-kun's able to use. Midoriya-kun gets annoyed with them though, for the first time ever, Sansa thinks. Because they aren't telling him much. The excuse that it's classified only satisfies him for at most 2 weeks, which is already longer than it would most. The doctor that examined Midoriya-kun finds no signs of him being influenced by a quirk. He gives them a small talk about the possibility that Midoriya-kun has a quirk that has not come out right, or became muted. Tells them that some quirks only come out in certain circumstances. But he also tells them he's skeptical about those theories because Midoriya-kun shows literally all the signs of being a quirkless kid and not one sign at all of having a quirk somewhere hidden in his body. When the doctor also takes the circumstances into account, it becomes even more unlikely, he says. Because if this would be the first time Midoriya-kun used this quirk, the chance of a backlash would have been big. The body wouldn't be ready for a quirk yet, especially such a powerful quirk, because it hadn't had the option to get used to it on an earlier age. They get sent away by the doctor feeling equally relieved and disappointed. It's weird to have no leads at all. After a month, the chief decides to let it lay for now, and to only resume their search if other leads or actual problems spring up. Sansa looks at a spluttering Midoriya-kun as he apologizes to a girl, who surprisingly enough has bright pink hair, that he bumped into while he was walking him home. She laughs at him, and waves it off. He just hopes it is the right decision. I want to tell them, Naomasa. I've known them for 2 years now, and they already feel like family. They're kind, and amazing in a way. They have been through a lot. They deserve at least to know. I can't hide it to them forever. A silence. I know it's a dangerous time now, but shouldn't that be precisely the reason I need to tell them? I don't want them to get mixed into this mess. Izuku pressed himself tightly to the wall, watching the shadow of Yagi-san on the wall moving around. But I know, Naomasa, but I can't let him away with it either. This villain has been appearing all over. Someone has to stop him. There was a short silence while Yagi-san listened to the voice coming out of the phone again. He winced. I know, Naomasa, he's dangerous. He's ripped countless heroes apart. I've heard the stories. But what am I supposed to do otherwise? He will hurt people again, and I can't let him do that to even more families. I can't. The only thing I can do is start a hunt. I'm the symbol of peace after all. A silence again. This one was longer. Yeah, I read it. But the letter only indicates something bad will happen. And if I fight this villain sensei alone, I will be hurt badly. It's anonymous. It's typed. They didn't tell their sources. It's suspicious all over. It's not something I can't put my trust in. It could easily be a trap. Not something I'm willing to let the lives of others depend on. Izuku felt him heart drop. That letter had been his only idea so far. And if Yagi-san wouldn't listen to it, he didn't know what to do. Yeah, I will make sure to be extra careful anyway. Possibly think about getting a partner anyway. I know. Never ignore a warning. Have you got everything? Izuku looked at Yagi-san nervously. His mom was in the back looking frazzled, seemingly more stressed at Yagi-san for getting something than Yagi-san did. They had decided to start packing 5 days ago, and Yagi-san had taken them to his house for the 3rd time in these 2 years. He had a modest, if you took the money in his possession into account, 2-story house. It was white, thin, high stone house with a triangular roof and overall average, if with a western tinge. The house had a bit of a cold feel, and it was obvious that Yagi-san didn't occupy a lot of the rooms, which were dusty and only minimally furnished, but the ones that were filled were messy and comfortable. His mom had taken to packing like a beast. Yagi-san had banished them from his office where work-related stuff lay, which was confidential. But that wasn't a problem for his mom. In the areas allowed, she made short work of everything. She had found some things in the house from which Yagi-san hadn't been aware of its existence anymore, if the look on his face was any indication. And when she found out that Yagi-san wasn't in possession of some of the most basic items, those items had mysteriously found a way in several packing boxes anyway. And also, several objects of their own household had disappeared in those boxes. As a reminder, apparently, Yagi-san had protested, saying they were already packing way too much, because he was going to be traveling a lot, so I have to pack lightly. In answer to that, Izuku's mom had stared at him for a moment, before ordering Izuku to close those 2 boxes in the corner, dear, and set them to with the others that have to go traveling with Yagi-san, please. Only the furniture like Yagi-san's bed and couch had been able to not disappear in the boxes, even if that had been pretty close. But in the end, Izuku had interfered and told his mom that he understood her sentiment, but Yagi-san couldn't drag a wooden bed across the continent, and that she was worrying too much again. In answer to that, she had burst into tears and flung herself to a very uncomfortable and awkward Yagi-san, hugging him for all that she was worth, all the while sputtering to him to take care of himself and to call them, please, and are you going to be alright all on your own? Yagi-san had tried to reassure her, all the while looking on the verge of tears on his own. Izuku had stood next to them, patting them both, not willing to become closer, and Yagi-san not willing to pull him closer because he didn't want to make Izuku uncomfortable. His mom had been willing though, when she calmed down only a little bit. She had looked at him with tears brimming her eyes, and snot dripping from her nose, had gasped, and pulled him with force, making him tumble between them. He only came up to his mom's shoulders and the chest of Yagi-san, so he was squashed fully them. He had frozen up at first, all stiff and suddenly nervous. It had taken some time, but after standing between his sobbing mom and a Yagi-san who was still trying to hold it together for only a few minutes, he ended up clutching them just as tightly as they did him. When they finally finished packing, they were done way too early. They still had 2 full days, and everything in Yagi-san's house was packed, sold or stored away safely. The only thing Yagi-san hadn't yet decided on was what he wanted to with the house itself. With the 1 day left, they decided to do something fun. Yagi-san proposed for them to go picnicking or maybe to the beach. Both of those proposals were however rejected by his mom, who decided that just picnicking wasn't special enough for their last trip and didn't want to go to the beach because she knew Izuku would sometimes get squeamish around water. They fired some other ideas back and forth and finally decided on going to an amusement park. The amusement park is huge and cheerful, with bright colors, lots of stands with food and games, several attractions, including roller coasters and a Ferris wheel. It is fun. They go to the haunted house, which scares the crap out of Izuku and his mom. After that, they get forced by his excited mom to go on several roller coasters, which surprisingly Yagi-san doesn't handle all too well. He stumbles green-faced after a few rides, getting pulled by an excited Inko who doesn't seem to notice his struggles at all, and seems ready to get swallowed by the ground when she mentions another roller coaster for them to go on. He mouths a help me to Izuku, and because Izuku is a good person who worries too much, he decides to do exactly that. Actually, Mom, can we first visit some of the game stands, please? His mom agrees immediately, and off they are. At the gaming stands, they split up so each can do a game on their own. His mom laughs when she later gets an adorable purpley pink teddy bear from Izuku, who won it, and gave it to her as a surprise. Yagi-san blushes when he gets a teddy bear too, one that is bright yellow, brown, one wearing a red, white and blue plaid bow tie and has on the paw pads and inside the ears the same plaid. Shortly after that, Izuku however gapes when the two return from a bathroom break with a rather basic teddy bear if it wasn't for the size, which is basically just as big as him. Izuku is secretly, or not so secretly, super happy with it. Later on, they eat something at the stands, and at last they also decide to take a boat ride, which is nice too, even though it's rather snug because of how huge Izuku's teddy bear is and how small the boat. During it all they have made plenty photos too. All in all, it was a great trip, and Izuku's mom is elated when they come home. They have their last evening meal with each other, at least for a while. And this should have dampened the mood. But with all the excitement from the whole day, they end up talking happily with each other, and not thinking about it at all. It's probably one of the best days Izuku has had for a while, and maybe even one of the best of this new life. It's nice to feel like a kid again. When the day came that Yagi-san would leave, it was a bright sunny day. They had all gathered before their house where someone would pick up Yagi-san. Even the Bakugo is coming to say goodbye, and you better call them. They have already been depressed for the last months while you were still here. If you won't call, and I will have to deal with a sad Inko for even longer, I will take a stick for every day, find you and shove them all up. Mitsuki. Please, mind Izuku and Katsuki-chan. And it's not Yagi-san's fault that dash. Not Yagi-san's fault my ass. I told him to not hurt you when we first met, and here I am buying more tissues than I've ever wanted in my life. I do have to agree with Mitsuki here. Inko-Masaru-san Pite and Izuku has been more down too. The least you could let us do is giving him a reminder of our warning. Our? Masaru. You're supposed to be the rational one of you three. Kachan was standing on the edge of their ring looking like this was the last place he wanted to be, determinedly turning his head away and muttering angrily. Yagi-san stood a few meters left of him, looking with a minute more uneasy while watching the argument between Mom and Mitsuki and Masaru. Izuku moved next to him, tugging his shirt. Yagi-san jumps in surprise and looked down. You shouldn't worry about them. Mitsuki-san and Masaru-san like you. They're both just sad you will leave. Yagi-san flicks his gaze to the trio again, doubtfully this time. If you think so, I do. They both look at the bickering silently. You will call, right? Izuku looks up at him. And stay safe? Izuku thinks he may have asked the last question a little bit too urgently because Yagi-san gives him a surprised and a bit questioning look. Then his look softens and he crouches down next to him. Of course, I promised, didn't I? At least once, every week. Izuku looks at him. At the man that had been his mentor but now felt more like a particular close family friend, uncle, or even like a father. It wasn't enough. Promise me that you'll come back again. This time there is definitely a desperate tone to his voice. Yagi-san seems a little bit disturbed at the question, and Izuku hears the argument behind him calm down, but he doesn't care. He just needs an answer. Yagi-san looks at him. Izuku, is there something? Izuku shakes his head in panic. Please promise me that I'll be able to see you again. That you'll be alright. But Yagi-san keeps looking at him, investigating him with his eyes, like he's able to find every little secret of Izuku that way. Then he sighs, I can't, and Izuku's face crumbles. His shoulders drop, and Izuku's gaze drops to the pavement. Izuku should have known, no one can ever promise that everything will be fine. It's not something you can promise, without possibly lying. He shouldn't have asked something like that of Yagi-san. Izuku knew how it was after all. To smile and promise, and slowly break apart. There's a laugh. Young Izuku-kun. Of course, I will be alright. I will see you and your mother again soon, with the promised souvenirs. Izuku's face snaps up. Yagi-san is smiling at him brightly. Hey kid. Take care, okay? Of your mother, but also yourself. And Izuku flings himself to Yagi-san, ignoring Kachan making a little gag sound behind them, and Mitsuki-san slapping his head and their devolving argument behind him. He wasn't sure how real that smile was, wasn't sure if Yagi-san would keep that promise. But Yagi-san would try. I will miss you, Yagi-san. A big hand patted him comfortably on his back. I will miss you too, but try to sound less like I'm walking to my deathbed. Yagi-san's laugh rumbles through his chest, but Izuku, whose face is buried in that same chest, doesn't react. Just make sure to be safe, okay? No taking on villains without thinking of yourself? Izuku mutters it so softly he himself can barely hear it. He curses himself when he feels Yagi-san startle at it though. It's then that the car pulls up, and Izuku uses it as an excuse to part from Yagi-san, avoiding his eyes. It's possible Yagi-san hadn't heard him right. It was possible Yagi-san saw something else which made him startle. It's unlikely though. His mom walks to them with soft eyes, and it's nice to have a distraction. She gives Yagi-san a last hug, then she walks back to Izuku, clasping an arm around him and pressing him to her side. Izuku watches Yagi-san step into the car, with desperate eyes, knowing he will not be able to stop what comes next. It's the same turning feeling in his stomach again as the time when Ida left for Hosu. People should learn from their own mistakes, Izuku. One will never learn if one does not get hurt. You cannot always save everyone. You shouldn't have to. He waves weakly as the car rides away. His mom turns to him with teary eyes as soon as the car is out of sight. Come on, Izuku. It's been a long week. Let's go drink some tea. Maybe watch that All Might film again that you love so much. Izuku's stomach turns again. Midoriya? There was a squeak and a crash. Machida-san? Hey, Midoriya. I told you that you can drop the suffixes by now. We've known each other for almost a year now. The tense boy relaxes a little bit on the ground. Ah, he's so naive. Also, what are you doing on my computer? And Midoriya tenses up again, taking on the look of a deer caught in the headlights. I was just looking, for just, the weathercast. Machida raises an unimpressed eyebrow. The weathercast, huh? He walks closer, ignoring Midoriya-kun trying to scramble up from his position on the floor next to the fallen over chair. He scans the computer screen. Oh man, I never knew that if you wanted to find about the weather of today, you should search for names on the specialized police computer system. I've been doing it wrong for years. So, what kind of weather is this Todoroki Shuto? And why exactly do you need its data? Midoriya lets out a panic squeak again. No one. And I don't need any data. Machida gives him his best scolding sans-raising on eyebrow impression, and Midoriya gives in almost instantly. I just wanted to know his address. Not for anything weird, I swear. He seemed like he could use a friend right now. And I thought I could maybe, of course, only if he wants to. And I don't know how to find him in any other way, so I thought I'm really sorry for using your computer. Machida blinks at Midoriya, unclear explanation. So, you saw this Todoroki Shuto somewhere. He looks sad. You wanted to make him happy, but you don't know him, and I'm guessing he didn't appear again at the place where you met. So, you want to go to his house and ask him to play or something to cheer him up, but for that you need an address. Midoriya looks away. So, Machida got at least the gist of the story. Nice. He was getting better at this kid interaction thing. It only took almost a year. Midoriya, I know you just want to help someone, but you can't just break into the police computer systems and possible classified data on a whim. Midoriya bows his head, avoiding his eyes. But Machida interrupts him. No, Midoriya. Also, you have to take into account that not everyone will react well to a stranger just randomly turning up at your door, even if that stranger is a small 9-year-old kid. This makes Midoriya deflate even more. I'm sorry, he mumbles. Machida sighs again, and pats him on the head. It's alright, kid, just don't do it again. He tugs his hair softly, and Midoriya looks up questioningly. The best you can do for now is just wait to see if you see him again on whatever playground, or what you saw him. And if you're meant to, I'm sure you will meet again. He won't be able to refuse being your friend then. You're the nicest kid that I know. You won't be able to convince me that anyone would refuse your friendship. Midoriya blinks up at him with his irritatingly big eyes, and giggles. Machida-san, I'm the only kid you know. Machida gives an offended gasp. What did you say? Midoriya protests when Machida uses the hand on his head to roughly ruffle his hair. But he's laughing. Izuku froze as he looked at Yagi-san's awkwardly frozen face on Skype. There was crackling coming from the speakers and also choppy parts of sentences. He wouldn't laugh. He couldn't. This was All Might. This was the symbol of peace. He looked at his mom, whose eyes were sparkling and a hand had moved to hide her mouth. She, while still not knowing who Yagi-san actually was or even knowing he was a hero, had also finally noticed that Yagi wasn't unimportant in the hero politics. If only by the way how Yagi-san always seemed to be in the middle of a villain's crimes when they called. This all didn't take away though, that the expression on his face wasn't exactly flattering frozen like this, and frankly quite hilarious. His mom's eyes flicker to his, her giggling badly hidden. It gets too much, and just as Yagi-san's face flickers in movement again, his voice now clearly understandable through the line, they both burst out in laughter. Yagi-san blinking at them in surprise only makes it worse. Communicating with Yagi-san over the phone, or later on the computer, is different. It isn't necessarily bad, just different. It's less intimate, but still nice. Every time Izuku sees him it's a relief really. It's been several months since Yagi-san left. They had been hard, so to say. Izuku was stressed. Sensei hadn't done anything so far from what Izuku knew, but Izuku knew it would happen eventually, leaving him worried about Yagi-san. On top of that, his mom had been getting an increasing amount of work, leaving her to come home later and more tired. Talking with Yagi-san didn't really help, like it would normally, because of the extra tension of him possibly popping out a question about his comment when they said goodbye. And Kachan was also being more distant and aggressive lately. The only relative nice place with peaceful companions he now had was the dojo and the police station. He went less to the police station lately too though. He had mastered most of the things they had wanted to teach him, so he was less required to come every week. He still tried to, But it was disturbingly easy to find excuses when he wasn't expected anymore. He didn't even do it on purpose, but suddenly reading a certain book would get priority or something like that. It wasn't just from his side. Sansa-san and Machida-san had been increasingly busy. A lot of villains were popping up, and even more normal criminals. He would often get a call or text telling him they wouldn't be there because one or another thing had come up. The dojo was heaven though. His sensei at the dojo had started teaching him a new style. The katas were new and calmer, meant for the person to do on his own. The purpose was to regulate your breathing and energy through your body. It was different. Hard because it was a whole other style from what he was used to, but it was also very reassuring and soothing, a new challenge. His sensei had allowed for him to work on the style alone and had given him several books on it, only coming to check up sometimes to make sure he wasn't messing any movements up. He had even given Izuku the keys to the dojo and promised him he was allowed to find refuge there if he wanted to. Of course, only if he made sure to leave everything as it was. That was frankly amazing. Mom had banned him from practicing inside after he accidentally broke a pot, and banned him from practicing outside because he almost broke their cherry tree. The ability to come there and just practice for hours was calming and an amazing getaway. A place where he would just be able to shut everything out. Later that week, when Izuku had seen his sensei again, he had almost cried when he thanked him. The old man had waved him off though. Everyone needs a safe haven. When your old one gets taken away, it's only natural you should be given a new one, Izuku-kun. It was a cold evening. The wind was howling and the quiet sound of the raindrops hitting the window was easily loud in the silent, dark room. Izuku was sitting at the kitchen table, a bowl of cold, uneaten ramen in front of him. His mom wasn't there today. She had been going on an increasing amount on admittedly short business trips for her work together with her big workload now too. But she had said that after these few she would be able to cut back again. Izuku had answered her to not worry about it. He was perfectly capable of taking care of himself. His mom had only given him a sad and guilty smile in return though. She had proposed for him to sleep over with the Bakugas again. But Izuku felt reluctant to impose, even more when today had been a bad day for him and Kachan again. Ending up with Kachan screaming at him in the middle of the class, and Izuku just trying to get away. Maybe it was better that his mom wasn't there. He was in one of his moods again. It happened more often now. Him just drowning in his thoughts, and shutting things out. He knew his mom, and Yagi-san and the police officers, or actually just everyone he knew well hated it when he did that. Especially Kachan. Kachan would see that him when he even noticed a hint of that sort of attitude, as was seen earlier that day. Izuku wasn't able to stop it though. Mom wanted him to go to the therapist again. But the therapist didn't help. She said that it wasn't real. Just bad dreams. The memories weren't just bad dreams. He had felt that blood on his hands had drowned into it. They weren't just bad dreams. She said to let go of the past. Izuku didn't want to. It was stupid. It was fucked up. It was probably not even what she meant. But the past, his memories, they were important. It was the only thing he still had of them. It was his only insurance that maybe it wouldn't go the same way this time again. Even though all the happy memories became sad. Even if they slip away from him sometimes leaving him desperate for something. It feels like they're memories of a dream then, slivers off emotions, a hazy image of the faces of his friends. Izuku sometimes wonders if he's just crazy. It was just so hard. He couldn't actually tell anyone about his past life. It wasn't realistic, wasn't explainable. He couldn't even convince himself at first, could still not sometimes. He could make a whole lot of things sound plausible, but not time travel. His mom was concerned enough about his nightmares already. She wouldn't just listen to him, and listen. She would worry and panic and worry even more. Yagi-san would probably tell his mom too if Izuku told him. The hard truth was that the adults wouldn't believe it. Even with everything Izuku had gone through in this life, he was still a kid. He was a kid that could be influenced by his nightmares, by others. He could be influenced. Easily. He could already hear them whispering about the side effect possibly causing hallucinations. He could use his nightmares, of course. Blame it all on them. But that wouldn't make them take heed to Izuku's warnings. It would take off some of the weight of his shoulders though. But could he really? His past life was past, and present was present. You shouldn't let past and present mix, Izuku-kun. Everyone knows that. She giggled. But Izuku wanted for someone to understand, even vaguely, so bad. Yagi-san was in danger. The sensei fight will happen soon if he had calculated right, and he didn't know what to do. Yagi-san had left. Yagi-san was totally out of his range, and Izuku couldn't do anything. Because he was a kid. Because he didn't even know much about the whole thing, next to the fact Yagi was heavily injured. Because Yagi-san wouldn't even tell him in what country he was last time he called. Because he was utterly useless. He looked at the ramen in front of him. They had smelled delicious when he had warmed them up. Mom had made them especially for him as apology for leaving today. Probably took an entire afternoon off for it too because ramen was a new dish she was trying. But all he could do was look at them with a hollow and nauseous feeling in his stomach. I'm going to be alright. I'm useless. I'm trying. I want to forget. I have changed things. I've changed things. But is it better now? Honestly, all what Izuku truly wanted to do is sleep, and never get out of his bed again, and never wake up again and just not feel, not think. Just be empty. Hiding away was bad. Running away was bad. Can you hide away from your future? Izuku stayed at the table until 3 in the morning. Then he moved to his room after cleaning the table, putting on his pajamas and getting into his bed. He didn't sleep at all that night. Were you alright yesterday, Izuku? You went to bed on time, right? Izuku smiled. Of course, Mom. Don't stress so much. Your ramen was delicious. So, you're the kid I've heard so much about from Machida-san and Sansa-san. It's a pleasure to meet you. The boy smiles up at him nervously with large eye bags under flickering eyes as if he wasn't able to look too long at one thing. He's a little bit unnerving if Naomasa is honest. His freckles standing out on skin which while slightly tanned had a sickly pallor to it. Too well spoken for a kid so young. Too nervous, not in a shy way, but rather cautious, hunted. Naomasa can't see how Sansa could describe him as one of the cutest kids on earth, I swear. Likewise, Tsukauchi-san. He is picking on one of the threads hanging from his hoodie and avoids Naomasa's eyes. It's silent for a while, and the boy keeps fiddling, never relaxing. Naomasa eventually sighs. You're waiting for Machida-san, right? He'll probably be busy for a while. His eyes flickered to Naomasa again. I know. But Mom doesn't allow me to walk home alone this late anymore. Naomasa raises his eyebrow at the stuttering. He was making the boy nervous. Maybe he should let the boy have his peace. The silence continues on. Naomasa gives up after only 5 minutes. The boy looks like he wants to drown himself. He starts on a topic all small kids like. So, I heard you wanted to become a hero. The boy startles. Ah yes, he murmurs. Since I was small. Naomasa smiles a little bit in humor. Kids were always so quick to call themselves big. You must be very determined. The boy nods, and Naomasa can see his muscles slowly relaxing, if only a little bit. I think heroes are amazing. I want to help others too, like All Might. His face lights up with a small shy smile as he says it, and Naomasa can finally recognize the adorable boy in him that Sansa described. You seem like you would be a good hero. The boy's eyes widen, finally stop flickering everywhere and zero in on him. A bit of a disbelieving expression on his face. Thank you, sir. Don't worry about it, kid. He pats the kid on the shoulder as he steps up to leave. Midoriya-kun flinches away violently. Naomasa feels himself startle, and he immediately backs of "Oh, I'm sorry, Midoriya-kun. I didn't mean to make you uncomfortable." But the boy is already shaking his head, though he seems relieved by the extra space. I'm sorry, Tsukauchi-san. I didn't mean to alarm you. I'm really sorry. I'm just not so good with touching anymore. Yet. The yet on the end surprises him. It sounds bitter in a way he didn't think a kid could sound. Like the kid doesn't believe in the yet himself. It was just him parroting what others say as an afterthought. Midoriya, where are you? Are you ready to go? Oh, that little bastard better not have left already. His mom will kill me with puppy eyes. Midoriya-kun startles. Machida-san, I'm here. I haven't left yet. The green-skinned officer turns around too. Midoriya, I never doubted you. Machida laughs obnoxiously. Well, come on then. I've a date tonight. I wouldn't want to be late. He wiggles his eyebrows, and Midoriya-kun splutters. Machida is already walking though, and Midoriya-kun gives Naomasa a hasty goodbye, before he running after the officer. Wait up, Machida-san. What did I tell you about suffixes? Naomasa looks at the back of Midoriya-kun as he catches up to the other. He's a creepy kid for sure. With his scrawny arms that definitely have some muscle definition that Naomasa wouldn't have noticed if he wasn't a detective. His huddled stance as if he wants to disappear into the ground. His flinches whenever someone touches him, when he doesn't expect it, or even when somebody comes close. His nervous air, Big eyes that seem lost and far away if they look you in the eye or too long, seeing something that Naomasa is sure is not him. He suffers from heavy anxiety from what Naomasa can conclude in only a short meeting, also possibly depression, and amnesia and heaven knows what. Creepy, jaded, troubled, fragile, damaged kid. A too young victim of life. A kid who doesn't even feel comfortable with casual touching yet whose biggest dream is to become a hero and save others. It reminds him of someone. He understands Sansa-san's and Machida-san's protective urges now, having had them himself. Having them. Yagi was getting in a whole lot of trouble again after all. Thank you so much for joining me on this incredible journey today. I hope you enjoyed exploring the fascinating what-if scenario of Deku. The possibilities were truly mind-blowing. If you found this video entertaining and thought-provoking, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and subscribe to the channel. Your support means the world to me and inspires me to bring you more captivating content in the future. Stay tuned for more exciting what-if stories and other amazing videos coming your way. Until next time, take care, stay curious, and keep embracing the power of imagination.